All right, for this lesson, we're going to look at y equals mx plus b, which is also known as the slope-intercept form. The reason it's called slope-intercept form is because whatever the m value is your slope. Whatever your b value is your y-intercept. Okay? So for example, if I had an equation like this, my y-intercept would be 2, and my slope would be 3. In order to graph equations like this, you always start at the y-intercept. So if I look at my graph over here, I'm going to start at 2, and then I use the slope to find another point. So because it's 3 or 3 over 1, I'm going to go up 3 and over 1 and put my point. Now I have enough information to draw a line and have the rest of the graph. Similarly, if you have an equation, if you have another question where it just gives you a graph and you need to find the equation, the first thing you say is, what's the y-intercept? So I got my equation. My y-intercept's -3, so I'm going to make the b -3. And then I look at my slope, it's down 1 and across 5. So I'm going to make my slope -1 over 5. And then that would be the equation of this line. There's also going to be some harder combo questions. These questions will say something like this. So you might get a question that says like, oh, find the line that is parallel to that and passes through this point. So let's go through how to do this. I'm going to start by finding the slope right here. The first thing you always find, always, is the slope. If it gave me 2 points, I would do this the same way. I would use my y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1 formula to find the slope. This question was a little easier I think. It said it's parallel to this one. We know if it's parallel, it's the same slope, and the slope of this is 3. So I know my final equation is going to look like this. Now, the problem is I don't know what the y-intercept is. This point is not the y-intercept. It's just a random point. But I know that it contains the x and y values, or on x and y value, because it's 2, 4, it's a point. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sub these numbers in for x and for y. So it's going to be 4 equals 3, 2, plus b. So I subbed in the numbers from that point for x and y. So when I find the answer, I'm just going to do a bit of algebra. Subtract becomes -2 equals, plus b. So b is equal to -2. So my final equation would be y equals 3x plus 2. That was the equation based on what we found. It ended up being the same as that. That was an accident. Yeah. So if it gives you 2 clues, the first thing you always do is find the slope, however you need to find it. Then you need to sub in a point. So find the slope, then sub a point. Those are the 2 steps to solve those types of questions. Let's take a look at this one. Hopefully it's a little tougher. An online music site charges a one-time membership fee of $20 plus 80 cents for every songs downloaded. We have to write an equation. And whenever you get word problems, you should always try and write an equation, because that's usually what you need in order to solve the rest of it. So I'm going to start y equals mx plus b. I want to think of what's my y-intercept going to be. And if you think in a graph, the y-intercept, let's erase this for a sec. The y-intercept is where whatever the cost is, or whatever the y value is, when x is 0. So if we think in this situation, y is going to be cost, and x is going to be like the number of songs. So in this situation, if you buy 0 songs, how much do you have to pay? Well, you have to pay that membership fee. And a lot of times questions will say something like one-time fee, or they'll say flat fee, or something like that. That is always going to be your y-intercept. So in my equation, I'm going to write the $20 as my flat fee right there. Now I need to figure out the slope. The clue for the slope is whenever it says a number like 80 cents, and it says for every, or it says per, or each, something like that, that means that it's going to be multiplied by whatever, like whatever the x value is. That number is your slope. So that ends up being our equation for the final answer. Y equals 80 cents, or 0.8x, plus the $20 initial fee. That's how we find the equation. The second question says, oh, you got 109 songs. What's the total cost? So all we need to do is we put that number in for total songs. So it's going to be y equals 0.80 times 109 plus 20. And you do the math and you find what the answer is. I got 107.2. The second question says she paid 120. How many songs did she download? This question works the same way. We just need to kind of do it backwards. So, do it here. X is 20. And then instead of y, I'm going to sub in the 120, and I'm going to have to solve. So I'll subtract the 20 from both sides. Then I'll divide by 0.8 to find the answer. I got 125, which means in the second one, she downloaded 125 songs. So whenever you get questions like that, write your equation. It's always going to be y equals mx plus b. The two numbers it gives you are going to be slope and y-intercept usually. And then the numbers it gives you for the question, you're going to sub in for x or y. And that's it. That's how you do these questions.